Hello, friendos and randos. We are back with round two of the Singapore area finals, and we are gonna start with round two Blue Purple Luffy versus Blackbeard. We are gonna see this is Chikiet versus Brian. Chikiet on the Blue Purple Luffy versus Blackbeard. Brian on Blackbeard here. Now, I am trying to see who won the dice roll. I believe it was Chikiet here. Does go for the usual cut. Chiket is gonna be going first on this blue purple Luffy, and now the players will be doing their usual setup. Now Blackbeard is still a very powerful leader with the new support in his starter deck. However, blue purple Luffy is very powerful as well, and this is gonna be a very interesting matchup to watch for sure. Teach is going to be a deck that goes negative on hand size very quickly. He does have to discard a card for his leader effect, and on the flip side, on blue purple Luffy's side, you are able to draw an additional card with your leader effect. So there's a very clear disparity in the amount of resources here. However, at the same time, Teach is gonna be able to set blue purple Luffy back by not allowing him to use his very powerful on-play effects, such as the 9-cost Sanji, such as the 9-cost Lin, such as his rampers like Bonclay as well, and his very crucial cycler blocker 5-cost Nami. Now we will see what the players open up with. The first few turns are going to be pretty straightforward for blue purple Luffy. We will see if Teach has the very key pieces on curve that he can use to contest in this matchup. We saw earlier as well actually that some of the blue purple Luffys may be on this special 8-cost Snake Man tech, which is going to be a way that they can answer some of Blackbeard's very key cards, such as that 4-cost Jesus Burgess or the 1-cost Caribou 2k counter and blocker, which can be very frustrating to get through as well. Now Blackbeard very strong control options as well in his deck. Cards such as the 4-cost Laboon alongside 2-cost Doc Q can KO a 5-cost character, and alongside the 7-cost Blackbeard can KO a 7-cost character, with additional reduction of course being able to scale even further. Now Teach gonna start out with a fuller led stage Hachinosu and looks at 3 cards, grabs a 5-cost Kuzan, already very good card. You do want to see no leader effect from the side of Brian this turn, so nothing on 3 with a very powerful on play to turn off. We are gonna see Chikiet go for a starve strategy here, denying Brian of any cards from his life. He does however have the fuller lead, so will be able to cycle through his deck very quickly still. Does grab the 6-cost Kusan and immediately develops a 4-cost Jesus Burgess. This is the alternate art, which is why there is a slight bit of confusion from Chikiet. However, it is the same old Jesus Burgess you do know and hate or love, maybe, depending on which side of this matchup you are on. There is no leader effect again from Brian, so we are going to see the Bonclay here able to ramp 1, and we are going to see it pass back over to Brian. Again, going for the full let, discards the 6-cost Kuzan, and here grabs a 1-cost Lafitte, the searcher for the Blackbeard Pirates. Just checking, there is cooldown available for the side of Chikiet, and we are going to see that 5-cost Kuzan developed alongside the 1-cost Lafitte for the 6th on turn here. Now Brian does use his leader effect this turn, denying any on plays for Chikiet on his 8th dawn turn here. We will see if he does go for anything like the 8-cost Katakuri, which would definitely be a very powerful play. Doesn't have an on-play effect, so isn't affected by Blackbeard's leader effect, and I do see it at the front of Chikiet's hand does come down. He does get that big 8-cost 8k blocker that does also attack and restand himself at the end of the turn. Now we are gonna see Brian go for the Lafitte search. He does pick up that 7-cost Blackbeard that we mentioned earlier. Is very powerful. Second Lafitte here, going for even more searches. He's letting Chikiet know, if you're denying me hand, I'm gonna find it myself. So goes for another search here. 5 dawn remaining on his 8 dawn turn here, so Brian just deciding what he's going for. Still quite a few cards in hand for Brian. It's still the early stages of the game. Van Augur does come to the hand of Brian. He is going to go for a Gum Gum Bell, which is a fantastic tech. Allows him to take his own life card and reduce the cost of Katakuri by 7. And there's the Dog Q. And there goes the 8 cost Katakuri already. It's gone, guys. Oh my goodness. That is what a tech into this matchup. Brian just knows, hey, this is how the blue purple Luffy matchup goes. They're gonna starve you, they're gonna drop 8 cost Katakuri, which isn't affected by your leader effect on play, denial, and this answers everything. 2 costs, you reduce something by 7, you add a card to your hand from your life, which your opponent has been denying you thus far, and suddenly Katakuri is in range of Dog Q. What? So here it is. There is the amazing Gum Gum Bell tech, gets rid of the 8 cost Katakuri. Now Jesus Burgess is gonna go in for a 6k swing here because there is 6 cards in the trash of Brian. He does discard, I believe, a 1 cost Caribou and go for his leader effect here. Brian only left with 3 cards in hand, but in an astounding position after that Gum Gum Bell Dog Q play from his deck. That was such a fantastic just turn for Brian. He's developed 2 Luffys. He has the Dog Q. He got rid of the 8 cost Katakuri, and we're gonna see Chiket grab Gum Gum Giant from his top 5 and then bottom the remaining 4 cards. Now this is a position you don't want to be in as blue purple Luffy in this matchup, because again, remember, Blackbeard turns off your on play effects. That means you aren't able to play a long game by healing with 9 cost Lin Lin. So unlike in other matchups where you can use 9 cost Lin Lin to go up anywhere from like 2 to up to 4 life cards, in this matchup you are definitely a 3 life leader, and that makes things much more precarious. Now we will see whether this Bonclay does turn sideways now. However, I think Chiket is aware that if this Kuzan does go into the trash, go for a Van Augur, it is not gonna be able to stay on the board for much longer since there is already a Dog Q. Chiket is aware, of course, of that Gum Gum Bell tech now. I think extremely not expecting that from the previous turn. However, there is going to be a Gravity Blade removing the 2 Laffites from the side of Brian. However, now we're going to see back to Brian again. He does let his Jesus Burgess go to the trash, but 5 cost Kuzan on the board can be used to get the Jesus Burgess back, and Brian does have 7 cost Teach available as well. We're gonna see Dog Q swing 1k into the Bonclay, 1 Don attached to him, so turning sideways and does get rid of a body in a bit of a non-traditional way. Now 1 Don on the 5 cost Kuzan, going for another 6k swing, and the camera is shaking, but we're back. So 5 cost 6k swing into leader with the 5 cost Kuzan, and then another 6k swing with leader, goes for a Gum Gum Giant here, so kind of showing a bit of weakness from Chiket here, cycling his hand a little bit, getting rid of Brick in the God Tread. Now we are gonna see Van Augur come down from the 5 cost Kuzan, developing a 6k body from the side of Brian, and also giving him options to reduce cost the following turn. And we're gonna see 7 cost Blackbeard as well, KOing his own Dog Q to draw a card. So remember everybody, 7 cost Blackbeard does say he can KO a 3 cost character, not one of your opponent's characters. So this is a tech that Brian is using in order to give himself more resources, more hand cards in this matchup. And that 7 cost Blackbeard is at 8k base body, so not too particularly worried about Chiket going for a big swing into it anyway. Now, another thing is, if Chiket tries to develop a 9 cost body, for example, on the following turn, Brian can easily respond with another Van Augur and turning his existing Van Augur and that Van Augur sideways, and then his 7 cost Teach sideways to KO a 9 cost body, reducing its cost by 3 for each Van Augur. So Brian in a pretty commanding position here on the Marshall D Teach. Chiket so far isn't able to apply the pressure that he wants into Brian yet. However, Again, look at the difference in the hand size. She get something like 8 cards available for him, whereas Brian only on 3, and that card hand size will be going smaller and smaller every turn still. Now, what is Chiket going to do? Quite a couple of events available still. Will he be turning his leader sideways into leader finally? Has been starving Brian of cards from his life all this while, but of course, One Piece card game, you do have to hit your opponent to 0 and then land one more hit in order to actually win the game. So we are gonna see, no, not yet, still continuing the starve strategy, putting down the 8 cost Katakuri and leaving 2 Dawn active. And there is the Tempest Kick from Brian. Will be able to reduce the cost of this 8 cost Katakuri by 3 and also draw a card. Very, very crucial net neutral cards for this Marshall D Teach deck. Now turning his Full Alert stage sideways again, grabs a Dock Q, and will he have the other crucial... Oh, never mind, sorry. He does have Van Augur on board already. What else will be the play for this turn? I do see a 5-cost Kuzan available, so Brian can get his 4-cost Jesus Burgess back on the board from the trash, or he can just go for another Van Augur and turn that one sideways instead, so the existing one can be used to swing into face. And that is going to be the play. So first, he goes for the 5-cost Kuzan, plays a Van Augur from trash, and now the existing Van Augur goes 6k into face. We're gonna see Jesus Burgess from hand, and then Brian uses his leader effect again, getting rid of any on plays from the side of Chikiet. And we do see some very powerful ones from him in his top 5 search here. There is a 9-cost Sanji, there's a 9-cost Lin Lin. He really wants to use these, but he just can't. And we are going to see a second Gravity Blade, I think, which is very, very good for Chikiet here. He is going to be really happy to see that. Grabs a Uso Hachi from the search. And now, currently, again, gonna have Tendon, can use that Gravity Blade and then also swing into one of these bodies. Can go for an 8k swing into the teacher, just reducing Brian's hand size by 1, and then forcing more resources out of Brian when he already has so little to work with. Chikiet still doing a great job of defending his life here. Still 2 life cards available, and if he is going to be able to Gravity Blade these 2 Van Augur and Jesus Burgess, it's going to be really strong for him. And Brian here taking back the Tempest Kick, allowing his 7-cost Blackbeard to go down with just a 8k swing. Doesn't want to reduce his hand size any further, and there is the Gravity Blade. We're going to see Van Augur and Jesus Burgess sent to the bottom of Brian's deck. However, he can still go back to reach them again very, very shortly with that Fuller lead, as well as any Lafitte's or anything like that as well. Now we are going to see him turn that Fuller lead again and grabs a Dock Q with the search. So pretty good. Again, can do something like that 7-cost Teach deck to get that into the trash, draw another card. We are going to see just him turning his board sideways as well. 8k swing into Chikiet's face, forcing 3k counter out. That is going to be the Gum Gum Giant. I think that is the second one of the game from him already. Only 2 Gum Gum Giants left for him. Will he be able to get all 4 out? There is another 8k swing here from the Blackbeard leader. And 5 Dawn remaining from Brian. We're gonna see what this ends up being. Maybe it's gonna be that Kuzan, maybe it's another Van Augur 3k counter, and it is gonna be the Kuzan. And we'll see what ends up being the target here. Is it gonna be another Jesus Burgess? Yes, it is. Now, leader effect, discarding that Dock Q he picked up off the Full Alert at the start of the turn, now passes it back over to Chikiet. Chikiet looking at his top 5 again, just deciding what he wants to do with his turn now. Again, back on Tendon, empty board. Every turn he's losing resources, but he's also gaining them back. And you can see here a very powerful 9-cost Luffy tech, maybe used as a hard tech into the blue-purple Luffy mirror, but currently isn't able to use that rush ability because it is tied to the on play. So there we are. It is the 9-cost Luffy being taken from Chikiet, he does just grab that into hand, has another 8-cost Katakuri there as well. What will be his play this turn? Brian is at 3 hand cards still, isn't gonna be able to defend a big swing or anything like that, but does guard the 6k swing into the Van Augur, doesn't want to let Chikiet take that for free. We're just checking how big the Jesus Burgess is. I believe it should be somewhere along the range of like 8 to 10k. I'm not like entirely certain, but maybe we'll get a count very shortly. Now Chikiet just deciding what to do with his 10 Don. There is 8-cost Katakuri, there is that 9-cost Luffy we saw, and it is going to be the 8-cost Katakuri here. Does want to stave off a little bit of the bleeding that he is doing from the hand. Does get a lot of counter out. Brian is getting a lot of counter out of him every turn. Now Brian immediately goes for the Tempest Kick into this 8-cost Katakuri, setting it to 5. He does have Van Augur on board, can get it down all the way. Now it is going to be another Tempest Kick, setting it to 2. We're going to see Fuller Let turn, see what Brian is going to pick up from this. It is stronger, I believe, the 1-cost 2k counter. Now 8 Don available. How will he get rid of this card? He goes for the 5-cost Kuzan, draws another card, and we're gonna see what he picks up. It is gonna be Doc Q, and he turns the Doc Q and Van Augur sideways to KO the now negative 1-cost 8-cost Katakuri. Now we're gonna see a 6k swing here from the Teach into the face of Chikiet. He does have 2 Don open still, can go for another big swing with the Jesus Burgess. Does just go for 1 big swing, not attaching any further Don. It does look something like a 9k swing, I believe. We will see what that actual number is. Chikiet here going for a Gum Gum Giant. That's the 3rd one in his deck. Discarding a 9-cost Sanji, drawing 2 cards, and getting ready to counter again, I believe. So this might be a 10k swing. It is a 10k swing, so drops a Zorojiru as well. Now Mansherry from Brian, he does get to get some cards back. He returns another Mansherry and a 5-cost Kuzan to the bottom of his deck in order to pick up another 5-cost Kuzan. So a lot of resources being gained here. Does discard the horse that he searched earlier, meaning he does know that one of his hand cards is a brick now. Chikiet does know. There is gonna be, I believe, 16, 19 cards in Brian's trash right now, so that Jesus Burgess has lost 1000 attack from that Mansherry play. However, as you know, Jesus Burgess's power total updates dynamically. So if Brian does drop 1k counter, for example, to increase Jesus Burgess's power, it will count to 20 cards in trash and make Jesus Burgess 10k instead of 9k. So we are going back to Chikiet's turn, still 6 cards in hand, triple the hand cards of Brian, but Brian's board looking very, very powerful in comparison to Van Augur's, the Doc Q, and the 1-cost Mansherry as well. Just confirming it was the 5-cost Kuzan that was revealed, was taken back by the Mansherry. So even if one of these 5-cost Van Augurs is sent to the trash, Brian will draw a card from that on KO effect, and then he will also be able to get it back with that 5-cost Kuzan. So what is going to be the play here from Chikiet? He isn't going to be able to play any like significant characters because he is afraid of these Van Augurs and Doc Qs getting rid of anything on his board. At the moment, anything at 7 costs or lower is automatically gone, and there is definitely another Van Augur available for Brian, so he can just go for that 5-cost Kuzan into Van Augur from his trash, and then minus 9 cost to this 9-cost Luffy that Chikiet just played down, causing him to lose yet another another character on board. We are going for the Fuller Let search into the 10-cost Blackbeard here actually, so that's lock this 9-cost Luffy from attacking, and then we are gonna see if there is gonna be swings here. First, the Van Augur has turned sideways, 6k swing into the face of Chikiet, getting 1k counter in the Nami out. Now Chikiet drops another counter for this swing or has to take this life down to 5 cards in hand already. Will he be forced to counter out with that gear second that he's brought to the front of his hand? Remember, without any characters to attack, he can't end the game either, and he is forced to drop that gear second for that 6k swing. Sorry, no, it is Jesus Burgess there that swung into Chiket's face. So it's not another Van Auger. It is Jesus Burgess. We're gonna see Red Rock taken from Chiket and will probably be used to get rid of that 10 cost Blackbeard that Brian just placed down. However, Chiket is running out of resources. Now you see Brian is counting out how many counter events, how many 2k counters have been spent. We're gonna see Chiket go for his turn again. That is the red rock used here to get rid of the 10 cost Newgate. We're gonna see two 2k counters and I think 6 counter events out already from Chiket. Only 4 Dawn available. This 9 cost Luffy not able to turn sideways. Will Chiket try to get rid of this Van Auger, giving Brian more resources back? Or will he go for face now and try to put Brian on a timer, get him lower on life so he can eventually take the game? Now we're gonna see whittle down little by little. She gets down to only 3 cards in hand and still triple the amount of cards that Brian has. However, he is slowly running out of steam. Even with the 2 cards drawn every turn, he cannot handle the 10k swings from Jesus Burgess every turn. It is gonna be very painful. Now, Chiket considering a 8k swing into this Van Auger, maybe just trying to guarantee that this 9 cost Luffy doesn't go down this turn, because it is gonna take -8 cost, and short of another Gum Gum Bell from Brian, it is gonna be difficult to get that down without a Van Auger already on board, and of course Brian only having 1 hand card right now. So Chiket just in the tank for a bit, goes for the 8k swing into the Van Auger. Brian gets to draw a card, very happy to be able to draw cards, of course. Now back to Brian again, immediately drops the 7 cost Blackbeard for his stage, and now grabs a 1 cost Lafitte. It is gonna be another 10 cost Newgate, is it? It is. Another 10 cost Newgate, locking that 9 cost Luffy again and not allowing it to attack. And Jesus Burgess going for another 11k swing here, I believe, because he has developed quite a few more cards in trash now. Now, will Chiket be able to counter out of this? He does have Gum Gum Giant and another 2k, but too many cards are needed, and Chiket goes down to 1 life after protecting it for so long. Will he be able to turn this around? He is in quite a dire position, and I believe not another red rock in that top 5 for him, not able to answer this 10 cost Blackbeard that Brian just dropped. And just now we were just talking about how this 9 cost Luffy is gonna be a very powerful attacker with 10k attack. However, Blackbeard 12k blocker is gonna be even more powerful. We're gonna see 8 cost Katakuri drop down from Chiket, and he isn't gonna swing still. Just lets it go back to Brian, and Brian not in any danger of lethal yet. 4 life still. Chiket only having 3 attacks on the following turn. Even with Franosuke Rush, for example, only 4 attacks, still not able to take the game. We're gonna see Jesus Burgess here turn sideways. Is gonna be, I think, 12k swing now. We're gonna see what is gonna be the play. Chiket does have 5 cards in hand now after drawing 2 cards this turn and that 1 card from live. Does have that final Gum Gum Giant available. Is considering turning the 8 cost Katakuri sideways and blocking this big swing instead of using the Gum Gum Giant, or maybe he's blocking and using the Gum Gum Giant in tandem to protect the 8 cost Katakuri, and that is gonna be the play here. Blocks for that 11k swing. Now putting 5 Dawn on his leader, going for a 10k swing into Chiket's face again, and 5 Dawn remaining for Brian. If Chiket takes this, that's going to be a 17k swing he has to counter out of, and that is going to be a 5k counter from Chiket, and then the 10 cost Blackbeard swings into the 8 cost Katakuri and secures the kill. We are going to see 5 cost Kuzan from Brian, and that is just going to be the turn passed back over. So now we are gonna see Chiket look at the top 5 again. There is gonna be a choice to be made. What Straw Hat card can he pick up? There is a Usohachi 2k counter. 2k counter, really good to grab, of course. Now slight issue with the stream. 1 second. So I was unable to get the rest of the footage from the stream here. It was actually corrupted. However, I do know the result of the match, so I'm just going to cast, and I'm going to ask that you guys use your theater of imagination for this one, okay? So Chiket picks up the Usohachi from his top 5 search. Still not sure what he can do here. Does have that 9-cost Luffy and leader swing available on board. However, very few cards available in hand left for him to use. Let's see how he proceeds with the turn. So right now we are going to see him actually try to clear the board a little bit. Swings into the Jesus Burgess, which does get blocked by this 4-cost Shiryu that Brian just placed down earlier. Now we're going to see the 6k swing as well into leader, finally trying to bring Brian down a little bit on life. However, it may be just a little bit too little too late. We're going to move into the end of his turn. He does drop a 5-cost Nami blocker. However, it just isn't enough here. We're going back to Brian's turn. He does go draw for turn. He does have the Jesus Burgess and the 2 Van Augers on board as well. He will be playing a Dot Q and another Van Auger to KO this 5-cost Nami blocker on the board, and now we are gonna see it go for a sideways swing. The Jesus Burgess is gonna see if it can take that final life on this blue purple Luffy, and it does go through, and the final swing comes in from the leader, and Chikiet just doesn't have enough guard, and it is over. Brian takes the game from blue purple Luffy in an absolute grind fest of a game, more than 25 minutes, almost timing out already. However, this is a matter of persistence, of resilience, and Brian is able to take the game from best deck in format after a grueling 30 minutes. Brian played fantastically, did his best to control the board, control the game, control the pace, keep it in his wheelhouse the entire time, and because of that discipline, that control, and of course that very fantastic gum bell tech, allowing him to swing the tempo in his favor so immensely on that one turn, getting rid of that 8-cost Katakuri, was able to take this game. Now, will he be able to win the remaining 3 games and make it into the top cut of the event? Let's find out. Well, yeah, very unfortunate the stream footage was corrupted. I hope you enjoyed my imagination. We're just gonna imagine that's how the game ended, okay? And we are going to move on into the next round of Sis, and I will see you guys again next time, friendos and randos. Peace out.